Welcome, dear listener of Soothing Story Nights, to this enchanting moment, where stories blossom into life and magic tenderly embraces us. Let's breathe a collective sigh of relief and prepare your mind for a splendid journey. Gently close your eyes, breathe in deeply, and exhale with a soft, tranquil breath. Feel the stresses of the day cascade away from your body, allowing your shoulders to relax and your mind to open to the forthcoming wonders. Allow yourself to float in this serene tranquility, where nothing is demanded and everything simply is. Permit yourself to be fully here in this moment. Inhale deeply once again, and exhale slowly, letting peace wrap around you and guide you to a haven of calm and openness. As your eyes gently reopen, together we stand, you and I, at the threshold of a magical realm where beauty and beasts, love and lessons, gently intertwine. Are you ready, cherished listener, to immerse yourself in the enchanting tale of Beauty and the Beast? A story where love conquers appearance, where bravery overshadows fear, and where true beauty shines brightly from within. Allow yourself to be whisked away on the wings of this timeless fairy tale, and perhaps discover a fragment of magic that whispers to your own heart. Once in a small village in France, where the fields stretched as far as the eye could see, lived a merchant of immense wealth. The man, whose name was Auguste, was known for his generosity, and his 3 daughters were the pride of his life. The youngest daughter, Belle, was not only a beautiful young woman but also has a heart of gold. Her sisters, Anastasia and Drizella, however, were the opposite, vain and selfish. The 3 sisters lived in prosperity, surrounded by the luxury of their father's wealth, until a tragic incident changed their lives forever. On a bleak winter day, news came that Auguste's ships, loaden with goods and riches, had perished in a terrible storm at sea. Like a house of cards, their prosperity collapsed, and the family lost all their possessions. The family moved to a modest cottage in the countryside, where the once prosperous sisters adjusted to their new, simpler life. Belle, with her tireless positive spirit, tried to make the best of their situation, sharing the small joys of life with her father. Anastasia and Drizella, however, struggled to let go of their former lifestyle and were consistently bitter and dissatisfied. One day, Auguste received a letter with the news that one of his believed lost ships had been found in a distant port. The man, whose hope was rekindled by the prospect of offering his daughters a better life, risked the perilous journey to reach the ship. Belle, concerned for her aging father, implored him to be careful and gave him a list of necessary items they needed. She also asked, half in jest, for him to bring back a single rose, a small luxury they had not had since their fall from wealth. After many days of traveling through dense forests and across expansive fields, Auguste arrived at the port, but joy was short-lived. The ship was heavily damaged, and the cargo was lost. The journey had been for naught. With a heavy heart and empty hands, the old merchant began the long journey home, not knowing that fate had a surprising twist in store. Auguste's return journey was strenuous and disheartening, his spirit as gloomy as the gray clouds above him. The paths were muddy and the forests seemed darker and quieter than on his outward journey. And then, just when he thought his fate couldn't get any worse, a foreboding storm broke out, forcing him to seek shelter. After riding soaked for hours, he discerned through the rain veils the outline of a majestic castle. With renewed hope, he hurried toward it, and upon arrival found the grand gate curiously open, as though welcoming him. Inside, the castle was enchanting and seemed untouched by time, with flickering chandeliers and lush carpets. Auguste called out, but his voice echoed through the deserted halls without response. Yet he found a feast laid out in the dining room and a warm bed ready for use. Grateful and too exhausted to ask questions, he ate and then sought refuge in the soft sheets of the bed. The next morning, Auguste awoke to the scent of fresh roses and remembered the simple wish of his loving daughter, Belle. In the garden, where the sun now playfully danced through the leaves, he found a rose bush and plucked a beautiful red rose. To his dismay, however, a beast appeared, a creature so terrifying that Auguste fell to his knees, trembling in fear. The beast roared about the stolen rose, the only source of beauty in its lonely existence, and demanded a life for a life. Auguste pleaded for forgiveness, shared the story of his daughters and their need. The beast, whose heart felt some softness at the old man's tale, proposed an alternative payment. One of his daughters must come in his place to stay in the castle forever. With a heavy heart and the rose firmly in hand, Auguste returned to his daughters, torn by the fateful decision that lay before him. The expression on Auguste's face as he stepped into the modest cottage was a mask of sorrow and fear. His daughters, initially joyous upon his return, felt a heavy stone in their stomachs when they saw the melancholy in his eyes. With a trembling voice, he told the story of the mysterious castle and the beast, and the terrible promise he had to make to spare his own life. Tears streamed down his cheeks as he handed the beautiful red rose to Belle, the symbol of his failure to bring her even a small piece of joy in their hard life. Belle, despite her father's tale of the fearsome beast, could not bear the thought of his life in peril. Her heart filled with resolve, and she knew she could not allow her father to pay such a price. In the silent hours of the night, after much gentle protest and reassuring words to her father and sisters, Belle slipped away, the rose clutched tightly in her hand, and the castle as her destination. The road was dark and ominous, and shadows danced in the corners of her eyes. But Belle's thoughts were filled with love for her father and the will to protect him, finding the strength to proceed. When she arrived at the castle, her knees trembled at the thought of the beast, but she entered, her voice loud and clear as she announced her presence. The beast, expecting to see the old man, was surprised and somewhat moved by the appearance and sacrifice of the young woman. His voice, although rough and threatening, betrayed a trace of wonder as he asked why she had come. Belle, with eyes as resolute as steel, told him that she had come to stay in place of her father, if that was still his wish. The beast, struck by her courage and self-sacrifice, agreed and led her to her room, a room that, despite its luxury, could not hide the echo of loneliness and sorrow. And so began Belle's life in the castle, where, unbeknownst to her, seeds of change and hope began to sprout in the heart of the beast. In the weeks that followed, Belle found a rhythm in the vast, lonely castle. Her days consisted of exploring the endless rooms and hallways, reading books from the immense library, and sporadic, uncomfortable encounters with the beast, who often retreated into the shadows of his solitude. On a particularly rainy day, when the droplets tapped against the windows and the wind howled through the cracks, Belle stumbled upon an old, dusty wing of the castle she had not explored before. The corridor was covered in thick cobwebs, and the air smelled musty and forgotten. Her curiosity overcame her caution, and Belle decided to proceed, her hands gently gliding along the cold stone wall. As she walked through the darkness, her hand suddenly bumped into a loose stone in the wall. With a grinding sound, part of the wall swung open, revealing a secret passageway. Belle's heart raced at this discovery and, armed with nothing but her curiosity, she stepped into the hidden passage. Deep in the corridor, far from the gloomy castle, Belle found a small, forgotten room. In the center of the room was a small desk, overloaded with aged letters and worn diary pages, each word an echo of the past. Belle, running her hand gently over the old documents, began to read and uncovered the tragic history of the beast, who was once a kind prince before a curse condemned him to this lonely existence. The mystery of the beast began to unfold, and Belle felt a strange mixture of pity and determination welling up inside her. Meanwhile, in another part of the castle, the beast was informed of Belle's discovery by the magical mirror, which allowed him to see everything within his domain. His feelings were conflicted. He feared the judgments she might make, but also held hope that she might see the man hiding behind the monster. In the days that followed, Belle noticed a subtle change in the beast. He no longer looked at her with the same intense sadness, but with a cautious curiosity. And on a cold evening, by the fireplace, they shared their first genuine conversation. In their words, careful and vulnerable, an unexpected friendship emerged. Belle, with her gentleness and empathy, began to break through the beast's tough exterior, while the beast, with his raw, unpolished charm, offered her a safe haven in the castle's solitude. And so something beautiful began to blossom in the most unlikely of places, between two beings from different worlds, bound by the strange web of fate. The budding friendship between Belle and the beast transformed the atmosphere within the sturdy walls of the castle. Where once there was palpable sorrow and loneliness, a tentative warmth began to glow, shaped by shared glances and soft conversations. In those shared moments, Belle discovered the kindness hidden behind the beast's intimidating facade, while the beast was struck by the unconditional tenderness and strength that flowed from Belle's being. The beast was acutely aware of the heavy burden that Belle's presence in his castle entailed, a sacrifice she made for the safety of her father. Therefore, in an attempt to bring a glimmer of joy into her days, he decided to create an evening so magical that it would dispel the shadows of their confinement, if only for a moment. The beast sent Belle an invitation, penned with careful and clumsy letters, asking her to join him for a dinner in the castle's grandest hall. Belle, surprised and curious, accepted the invitation with a gentle smile, giving the beast unseen hope. That evening, the hall was transformed. Sparkling lights danced across the walls, reflected by the many crystals hanging from the colossal chandelier, and soft music filled the space, played by the magical instruments that once belonged to the castle's servants, now transformed by the same curse that afflicted the beast. A splendid table was set, laden with the most delicious dishes and surrounded by the scent of blossoming flowers. Belle, in a simple yet stunning dress, entered the hall with eyes full of wonder. The beast, dressed in his finest attire, offered her his arm, a nervous tension in his eyes. As they dined, they were enveloped in a gentleness, an unspoken understanding that drew them even closer together. Belle looked at the beast with deep appreciation and understanding, seeing beyond his rugged exterior and recognizing the tormented soul beneath. The beast, meanwhile, found solace in Belle's presence, intrigued and comforted by her acceptance and empathy. After dinner, the beast invited Belle to dance. In the center of the hall, under the soft light of the chandelier, their hands found each other. There, in that embrace, lost in the melody and each other, a spark emerged, a promise of something beautiful that could blossom amidst the gloom of their shared confinement. That night, amidst the darkness separating their worlds, a tender light was born, and for the first time in a very long while, the beast felt a hint of hope, and Belle, a warmth that glowed from within. After the magical evening they shared, a bond had unmistakably grown between Belle and the beast. Yet as days turned to nights, Belle noticed a peculiar melancholy that clung to the beast, especially when he thought he was alone. Curious and concerned, Belle decided to uncover the root of his sadness. One day, as Belle explored a wing of the castle she had never ventured into before, she stumbled upon a dimly lit chamber. The room was vast, but what caught her attention was a single, enchanted rose gently levitating under a glass dome in the room's center. The rose, despite its apparent age, glowed with an ethereal luminescence, each petal shimmering like the stars above. But Belle also noted that a number of petals had already fallen and lay withered at the base of the dome. Unable to resist the pull of the rose, she reached out, but before her fingers could graze the glass, The beast's voice echoed through the chamber, a mix of fear and desperation. "Don't touch it." Startled, Belle turned to see the beast, his eyes reflecting a storm of emotions. Seeing the fear and confusion in Belle's gaze, he took a deep breath and began to share the tale of the rose. It was no ordinary flower, but a magical symbol of the curse that bound him in his beastly form. The enchantress who had cursed him had left the rose as a ticking clock of sorts. Once the last petal fell, the curse would become permanent, and he would remain a beast forever. The weight of the curse, the pressure of time running out, and the isolation of his existence had carved deep chasms of despair in the beast's heart. But with Belle's entrance into his life, a new fear had taken root, the fear of losing the one bright spark in his otherwise bleak existence. Belle, touched by the vulnerability the beast showed, stepped closer. "Then we must find a way to break the curse," she whispered, determination lighting up her eyes. In that moment, as they stood side by side, gazing at the slowly wilting rose, a silent pact was made. Together they would face the challenges ahead, seeking a way to shatter the chains of the past and kindle a new future. Determined to find a way to break the curse, Belle and the beast delved into the vast archives of the castle's library. Books of all kinds lined the shelves, tomes of magic, ancient scrolls, and even memoirs of past rulers. Together, they pored over any resource that might give a hint about the enchantress or the nature of the curse itself. After many days of endless searching, Belle stumbled upon a dusty old book that seemed different from the rest. Bound in midnight blue leather and embossed with silver glyphs, the book radiated a faint magical aura. The title read, "The Echoes of Heartbeats." Inside, they discovered it was a journal, but not just any journal. It belonged to the enchantress herself. As Belle read aloud, they learned of her journey, her quest to understand the human heart, and the circumstances that led her to cast the spell on the beast. It spoke of love, betrayal, and the transformative power of genuine understanding and connection. Towards the end, there was a passage that stood out. For a heart encased in stone to beat again, it must not only feel love, but also recognize the love it has been given. When two souls connect, transcending their outer shells, the chains of the past shall shatter. The message, though poetic and cryptic, gave them a hint. The beast needed not only to love, but to truly understand and acknowledge the love he received. It wasn't just about breaking a spell, but mending a broken heart. Belle, her optimism shining through, declared, "It's not just about the magic or the curse, it's about the bond, the emotions, and the understanding we share." The beast, while hopeful, was also fearful. But how do we ensure that this bond is strong enough to break such a powerful curse? Belle gently took his hand. "We grow it, nurture it, and believe in it, together." In the days that followed, they shared more of themselves with each other. They talked about their dreams, fears, and even their shared moments of joy and laughter. Through these shared experiences, their bond deepened, and a warm, genuine love began to blossom. The beast, for the first time, started to genuinely hope. He began to not only feel love for Belle, but also recognize the love she felt for him. And as their connection grew, the magic of the castle began to shift subtly, resonating with the powerful bond forming between them. But as the petals on the rose continued to fall, the urgency to break the curse weighed heavily on them both. Time, like the silent observer it is, moved swiftly within the confines of the castle. With each setting sun and rising moon, the bond between Belle and the beast continued to deepen, evolving into a relationship built on mutual respect, understanding, and affection. Their days were filled with shared laughter, quiet moments of contemplation, and adventurous explorations of both the castle and their own hearts. However, the ever-present rose with its ethereal glow served as a constant reminder of the curse's looming finality. The petals dwindled, now just a precious few remaining, each one representing the fragile hope they both held on to. One evening, as a golden sunset bathed the castle in a warm, amber hue, Belle and the beast found themselves on the balcony. overlooking the vast expanse of the gardens below. The atmosphere was thick with unsaid words, the weight of the impending climax bearing down on them. The beast, his voice heavy with emotion, finally broke the silence. Belle, when you first came here, I never imagined that someone could see beyond this monstrous form. Yet, with every passing day, you've made me feel human, loved. Belle looked into his eyes, those deep pools reflecting a turmoil of hope and despair. And you've shown me that true beauty is found within. I've seen the kindness, the pain, and the love in your heart. But, her voice wavered, eyes darting to the rose under its dome. Time is running out. The beast nodded, a sigh escaping his lips. I felt a change, a warmth, something I haven't felt in years, but I'm afraid that it might not be enough. As if on cue, a gust of wind blew and they watched in horror as another petal detached from the rose, floating gently down to join its fallen brethren. Belle, determination in her eyes, took the beast's face in her hands. Then let's not waste any more time in fear. Let's cherish each moment, each emotion, and let love guide us. That night, as the castle slept, Belle and the beast danced. It wasn't in the grand ballroom or accompanied by magical music. Instead, it was on the balcony, under the canopy of stars, their hearts playing a silent tune of love and longing. As the night wore on and the first light of dawn began to paint the sky, they found themselves drawn to the chamber where the rose lay. The dome's glass reflected the early morning light, making the remaining petal glow. As they stood hand in hand, watching the petal teeter on the brink of falling, the weight of the moment was palpable. But then something miraculous happened. As Belle whispered words of love and the beast echoed her sentiments, the petal, instead of falling, floated back up, reattaching itself to the rose. The glow intensified, enveloping them both, and the magic of the castle resonated in harmony with their shared heartbeat. However, whether the curse was truly broken or just held at bay remained to be seen. Days turned into weeks, and the anticipation in the castle was palpable. Preparations were underway for a grand celebration, one that would not only unite two souls in love, but also, they hoped, would herald the end of the curse. Invitations were sent far and wide, including to Belle's family. Her father, filled with joy and relief, was eager to attend, hoping to witness the happiness he had once feared his daughter might never find. Anastasia and Drizella, though initially hesitant and skeptical, were also drawn to the occasion, their curiosity overcoming their previous resentments. The day of the wedding dawned clear and bright, the sky a vast expanse of blue. The grounds of the castle, previously dark and foreboding, seemed to shimmer with expectancy, the plants and flowers leaning towards the castle as if in eager anticipation. Inside, Belle was a vision. Her dress, spun from the finest silks, glowed in the soft light, echoing the colors of dawn. As she made her way to the grand ballroom, now transformed into a magnificent wedding venue, she locked eyes with the beast. Even in his monstrous form, she saw only the kind, gentle soul she had grown to love. The ceremony began, the atmosphere thick with emotion. As vows were exchanged and promises made, the castle seemed to hold its breath, the very stones vibrating with the energy of the moment. And then, as Belle and the beast shared a passionate kiss to seal their union, magic unfurled. A blinding light emanated from the rose, now fully restored and radiant. Waves of energy cascaded through the castle, turning dark stones to shimmering marble, twisted spires to elegant towers, and the previously bleak landscape to one of breathtaking beauty. The guests gasped as the light enveloped the beast. Before their very eyes, the monstrous form began to shift and change. Fur receded, claws shrank, and the fearsome visage softened. Standing before them was no longer the beast, but a handsome prince with kind eyes, the very essence of the man Belle had come to love. The ballroom erupted in cheers, but the loudest were from Belle's father, tears of happiness streaming down his face. Even Anastasia and Drizella, usually so cynical, were caught up in the joy of the moment, their claps and cheers genuine. The prince, once the beast, took Belle's hands in his. "You've not only freed me from my external prison," he whispered, "but also from the shackles of my own making inside." Belle smiled, tears of happiness glistening in her eyes. "And you've shown me that love knows no bounds, no form. It's the heart that matters." As the sun set, casting the newly transformed castle in hues of gold and pink, the celebrations continued, marking not just the union of two souls, but also the triumph of love over adversity, understanding over prejudice, and hope over despair. And in that magical land, they lived happily ever after.